Hey everybody, welcome to Wheel and Wrench. This is Coleman Hook, and I'm getting ready to start a series on this brand new sidecar and motorcycle combo I just picked up. I'm planning to take it all apart, rebuild it, get it back on the road, and just take small videos along the way. So sit back, stay tuned, and enjoy the shows. What we got here, this is a Sputnik sidecar. It replaced what was known as the Jupiter sidecar, with the main difference between the two being the Jupiter had a front that slid forward, and the Sputnik front lifts open for the rider to get in. Now, a little background on this sidecar. It's a Russian-produced sidecar, and is made at a place called the VMZ plant. And it was made for a motorcycle manufacturer known as IZH. So the IZH motorcycles were about a 350cc bike, and it was known as the Planeta, from what I could find. And this sidecar was attached to that motorcycle. And from what I could tell, I don't know if this was called the Sputnik from the manufacturer, but a lot of times the literature calls it the IZH with sidecar. So what we have here is a Russian-produced Sputnik sidecar that was originally attached to a Planeta motorcycle. The serial number is located on the side of the sidecar next to the wheel in front of the swing arm, and there's 3 numbers located there, and from what I read online, the last 2 digits indicate the year. Now, on this one, it's either going to be a 73 or a 97 as the other last 2 digits, and the first number there is, I'm assuming, a model number or a production number of some kind. Now, based on the state of the sidecar, I'm pretty sure, I'd feel confident saying it's a 73 and maybe 97 or 87, that could be 8. It was hard to tell was the years exported in, but regardless, it's either a 73 or a 97, and it definitely looks like something that would come from the early 70s. So the first step is we need to get this thing in the air and on some jack stands and secured. So under the sidecar, there's a large tubular frame that is a good spot to jack the sidecar up and then place your jack stands or whatever items you'll be using. In my scenario here, this is the front of the sidecar, has a large tubular frame, and I use this to jack up the front and then place the jack stands near the outer edges to support the sidecar. It does have a nice location where 2 tubular arms are welded together. It gives a nice rigid location to have a jack stand placed on the sidecar. For the rear of the sidecar, very similar. You have your tubular frame in the back and the mounts around the side of it. So to jack it up, I will jack on the tubular arm and then place the jack stands on the outside of the frame to hold the sidecar up. So as seen here, I've got the front jacked up. I lifted in the middle of the sidecar and placed a jack stand on each side, and this worked very well and made it nice and stable. Again, use a large jack, and I jacked to the front first, secured it, and then moved to the rear and jacked the back end up as well. Here we see the sidecar fully jacked up. Jacked the front end up, secured it, went around to the back, jacked the rear end up, placed the jack stands on the tube or the frame tube around the jack, and it seemed to work very well. It was nice and sturdy. One thing of note though, after having the sidecar fully jacked up, I noticed the front corner jack stand didn't have any weight on it. This is, I believe, to the sidecar. A lot of the weight, the sidecar being back on the wheel, is very light in this corner. So to make it more stable, I'm just going to lift up on the sidecar, move the jack stand out, raise it up a little bit, and then that will have 4 points of contact all the way around. Once you got the sidecar secured, my next job is to get the tub off of the frame, and it's held on by 8 bolts that go around the frame on these clamshell type brackets here with rubber in between. So you've got 2 at each location, so it's 4 in the front and 4 in the rear, and they're bolts, not studs, so they do spin if they're older. So in taking it off, they were a 9/16 nut, pretty straightforward bolt and nut situation. Now, being they're not studs, they do want to spin, being they're old and have some corrosion on them. So a couple ways you could go about that is you can try to secure the top using a helper. You could put a wrench on the top and try to lodge it, or you can also put pressure on the bolt and loosen the nut separately as well. Just trying to get these bolts and nuts. It's hard to reach around and to get to the bottom and the top at the same time. Thankfully, I'm able to do that. I have a large wingspan so I can reach around it, but it is not an easy way to get to the bolt. Okay, so to try and get the bolts out if they're spinning, or just to get the bolts out in general, this is the inside of the sidecar, and the front four are located near the front, kind of where your calves might go, and then the back four are in the trunk lid behind and in front of the seat. This particular sidecar has a mat in it, so you pull the mat up and you can see the bolts located here. Again, you've got the two in the front of the seat and then two in the rear, and to get to the back two, it's easiest I found to go through the trunk to access the rears. Final step is to get the tub off of the jack stands and off the chassis and up onto some sawhorses. Now, one note, the rubber had stuck to the metal over time, so I had to go in with a screwdriver and pry the rubber loose from the steel ever so slightly. So we went to lift it off the chassis and then try to pick the chassis up with it. So make sure that the chassis is completely free from the body. Now, there was a small harness for the lights that I just simply cut and will rewire at a later time. Now, using a helper, the helper is needed. The car probably weighs, I think from what I read, a little over 200 pounds. Pretty straightforward. And so the two people, you can grab the front and rear, lift it, and place it on some sawhorses. To carry, it was easiest to carry from the bottom. There's a lip that goes around it, but that's more of a rubber molding. And then there's a frame rail on top, which holds a convertible style cover, and that itself was not completely secure. So the best way we found out to carry it was just grab front and bottom, place on some sawhorses, and there you go. There you go, 2 sawhorses are more than enough to hold the tub securely and allow access to the chassis, and then the tub, whatever work we might do after that. Okay, now the tub is off, we have access to the chassis. Stay tuned for the next videos where we start tearing down the chassis, get the wheels off, but here's a picture of the chassis. As you can see, you've got those 4 rubber mounts which hold the tub, held by 8 different bolts, and it's a pretty straightforward tubular chassis that thankfully this one looks in pretty good condition and seems pretty solid.